Former Johnstown Tomahawk Alex Tracy is blazing a dominant trail through NCAA Division I college hockey. The current Minnesota State Maverick leads the league with his goals against average and save percentage. We chatted with Alex about his incredible year and learned more on his journey to joining the Mavericks program. Welcome to Alumni All Access. Alex, you've had an incredible season, first and foremost, but I want to talk back to how hockey started for you. What age did hockey start for you, and what made you ultimately decide to be a goaltender?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And in terms of the start of my hockey career, it was a little unique in a way because I didn't have anyone in my family who played hockey previously. And growing up in Chicago, when I was growing up, it was right around when the Blackhawks started to get good. So just from watching them on TV, I grew a passion for hockey. It was very entertaining. I loved it. Wanted to stay up and especially on school nights, wanted to watch them play all the time and having to bargain with my parents for that. So they agreed to take me out to an outdoor rink in Chicago that first time I ever skated, and uh, hated it the first time. I came off the ice crying, like didn't want to go back out there and play. But my dad, he was like, "No, you're at least gonna learn, and you're gonna figure out how to skate. Then you can see if you like it from there." So I think that was about 6 or 7 years old when my dad took me out there on that outdoor rink, and thankfully he didn't let me quit after that. He made me keep coming back, and I ended up falling in love with it. The next season or the next years when I played my first year of hockey, I actually started out as a defenseman, and the story of me becoming a goalie is actually a pretty funny one as well. So I played 1 year as a defenseman. And then going into that summer, we had a 3-on-3 tournament, and the goalie on our team. It's the day of the tournament. We show up to the rink, and he says he didn't want to play goalie anymore, like for this specific tournament. So we were going into game one. We have no goalie, and it always like kind of interested me, playing knee hockey in the basement with my friends. Like I always loved playing goalie, so I was like, sure, like I'll try it. So we switch gear. I hop in net, and we actually go all the way to the championship game. And we're getting ready for the championship game, and the goalie who I switched with decides he wants to go back in net. And I'm wearing his gear, so I can't say no. So a little unwillingly, we switch. I go back to being a defenseman. He's a goalie, and we ended up losing that championship game. And I know, my prideful 8-year-old self got in the car, and I told my parents, like, nope, I'm not letting this happen again. Like, I'm being a goalie. And they must have thought I was joking at first, but I kept bringing it up to them. And so that's how the next season, they got me some goalie gear in whatever way possible. Because like I said, they didn't play hockey growing up. They knew nothing about it. So we went to just a local, play it again, just strung up together whatever it was that we could, and started playing goalie from there. And yeah, so it's a funny little story how it started, but thankfully for my dad's perseverance and both of my parents' passion for wanting to follow through with this dream that I have, I was able to start playing at maybe a little later of an age than most hockey players, but super grateful for how that played out.
Yeah, that's so fun. What during that 3-on-3 tournament made you fall in love with being a goaltender? What was it about it that you just wanted to do it for the rest of your hockey career?
Yeah, I think it was just the influence that goalies can have on a game, because normally if a goalie's not having their best night, then it's more than likely that the outcome is going to reflect that, and then vice versa. How many times you hear that goalies are stealing games for their team. So I feel like that pressure and influence on the game is something that I loved. As much as I loved skating out, being a defenseman, trying to score goals or defend that way, I just feel like you had much more of a just an impact on the game in net, and it was fun just sliding across the crease, trying to make saves, throwing my body at pucks, and yeah, I don't know, just that whole flow of things I fell in love with.
That's so exciting. Coming from Chicago, what made you ultimately decide in joining the North American Hockey League and specifically the Johnstown Tomahawks?
Yeah, um, so there actually was a little bit in between. So I finished my senior year at my high school here in Chicago. I played my second year of 18. So actually I played up my first year 18s, and then my first year of what would have been my first year 18s was my second year. And so I had a decision to make. It was either to stay at home for another year and play for the Fury, play AAA for another year, and then hopefully more opportunity was going to come after that, or I could go to the North American League right away with, and really the only interest I was getting immediately was from Shreveport. So they wanted me there. They kind of kept connection with me throughout that second year of 18s, and they wanted me to come to their training camp. And I kind of knew going into it the situation. They had two returning goalies. I was most likely going to be the third practicing most of the year, and would have had a really good shot just from putting in the work that year to be the starter the following season. So initially that was my plan. I'd always wanted to play in the NAHL. Like, it was just here, like especially the terms that float around of it being a goalie factory, like going into when I was playing AAA, like that's what really interested me and attracted me in terms of the NAHL. Like, I wanted to play in this league and develop in that way. So took that opportunity and went there to be, for what I thought was just going to be the third goalie there for just practice basically the entire season. And we get into, the rest of training camp. The start of the season is approaching, and we're getting ready to make our trip up to Blaine for the opening showcase. This was the 1920 season. And I get a call from my advisor saying that Johnstown was in need of a goalie. And head coach there, Mike Letizia, Chicago guy, so he knew my advisor pretty well, and he was saying, "Hey, I got a kid from Chicago who's down in Shreveport. He's probably not going to be seeing much time this year. Like, let me get you his information." So I was sitting there. It was about 5 hours because with Shreveport we were going to travel overnight up to the showcase in Blaine. So it was like 5 hours before we were supposed to be at the rink and load the bus and get going is when I got that call. So I had to scramble. I was getting all my stuff together, throw all my clothes in the laundry, pack up all my stuff. And thankfully I have a grandpa who lives in Minden, Louisiana, which is like 30 minutes from Shreveport. So he drives to the rink, picks up all my stuff in my car. I travel with the team to Shreveport. We stop in, I think, Oklahoma maybe, or Oklahoma City maybe. Can't remember where it was, but I couldn't practice with the team because I technically wasn't on there anymore. And then finish the trip to Blaine, have like one last meal with them, and then I Uber from the restaurant to the hotel with Johnstown. And then I don't know if it was the next night or 2 nights later is when I ended up playing my first game there, and then finish the showcase. I drive with the team back to Johnstown. My grandpa drives my car up to my parents in Chicago. They bring it to Johnstown. So like crazy, just kind of travel, like transition story to start my not only NAHL but junior career in general. But looking back on it, it was the best thing that could have happened for me. And I love all the people down there, like Jason Campbell, who gave me that opportunity in Shreveport. Shreveport has a special place in my heart, even just the 1 month that I spent there. From, my billets, the dues, they were unbelievable people, just the rink, the community there, and then the coaching staff and the teammates that I had there. But that opportunity in Johnstown is really what kickstarted, because I went from planning on not playing a single minute that season to now going in and trying to fight for a starting role in Johnstown. And then it kind of took off from there. Had a good season there, thanks to Coach Mike over there and the culture that they had going on, and had a really good season. Super blessed to be a part of that.
Even with all the craziness of having to drive different places and figure all your situation out in Blaine, Minnesota, what did it mean to have that opportunity with the Johnstown Tomahawks?
Mm-hmm. It was just meant to be. Like, it's kind of, I mean, even looking back on it now, all these years down the road, it's like it truly leaves me speechless on like how it all played out, and the fact that they, the Tomahawks, they knew nothing really about me, right? They knew, my coach called, or their coach called my advisor and just knew, hey, this is really the only connection was like, hey, this is a kid from Chicago, like, kind of almost taking a chance on me, right? And they brought me in and gave me that chance right away. I think I was a scratch that first game when I got there for the showcase, but then the next night, like, he gave me the opportunity to show what I'm capable of. So the fact that they were, Coach Letizia kind of took that chance on me and gave me that opportunity to fight for a starting role with him. I was super grateful for. And that was kind of the preparation going into it, is whatever opportunity that was going to come my way. And depending on what team it was going to be in this league, like I wanted to make sure that I was ready for it. So thankfully that they were the ones to give me that opportunity, because I have nothing but amazing things to say about my time in Johnstown, and even the 1 month in Shreveport, but especially in Johnstown, just in terms of everything, the people there, the community, the culture that they have there in the locker room, the guys that I have lifelong relationships with now. It was truly a special season. And if that doesn't happen, and the Tomahawks don't give me that opportunity, like, who knows what my career looks like today. So very grateful for everyone that was a part of that. And yeah, it meant a lot to me.
Looking back on that season with Johnstown, what did you learn the most about yourself, the game, your development, whatever that may be for you? What was the one thing that you learned the most?
I think I just learned what it meant to be a pro, and that consistency is the most important thing, especially in goaltending. That first game that I had with Johnstown in the showcase, I off to a really good start. I think it was Bismarck in my first game. I think we beat them in a shootout. Had a solid game, and then the next game I think I ended up playing two in the showcase, but the second one was like not so great. And the third one I did really well again. And then the fourth one, maybe a little bit of a blunder. So just getting into that, developing that routine that I don't think I had going into Johnstown, and just seeing how, the older guys on my team really carried themselves day to day and how they attacked it, and seeing the coaches' passion for wanting to make us better, not just in games, but in practice, in the community, and whatever it is, just as people in general. I think really showed me what it means to play at a high level. So going through that season and kind of developing that routine and that consistency of, that it's whatever you do one night, it's like, great, you got to wake up and do it again the next day. So I think just putting on that mindset has completely transformed the way that I approach coming to the rink every day, and something that I didn't have before I played in the NAHL. So getting to experience it that season with Johnstown, I think really helped me in the long run.
Well, also with that season with Johnstown, you were named East Division Goaltender of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and you carried on that awards winning spree during your time with the USHL. What is the secret sauce? What is it that you were doing that was making you so successful on the ice?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it just goes to trust and compete. I think that year in Johnstown, like the guys that I made develop relationships with, like all my teammates, like those, I value those to this day. Like we are so close. And I think just going throughout the season, growing with them in that aspect, and just knowing that, hey, these guys in front of me are buying in and they're selling out, that they're doing whatever it takes to win. And they really kind of made my job easy that year. And just seeing their passion for wanting to play hard for me just made me want to do even more for them behind them in the net. And I think just having that mentality going into every single, not only game, but practice, is just giving it my all, and just making sure that I'm prepared, doing the best that I can, doing it with a good attitude, and being a good teammate, and just allowing the outcome to flow from that, really helped me not only that season, but especially in years to come too. And, in the USHL, and then now here in Mankato, is just, the more that you love the people that you're doing it with, the more buy-in that you're going to have, and the more, attention to detail, focus, the more you're going to compete and do all these things that make you successful when you're loving it, who you do it with. So that was especially prevalent in Johnstown. Like all those guys I'm super close with even to this day, and then into those teams in Sioux City, and now here in Mankato. So I think that was definitely the most important part, was just loving who I get to do it with when I come to the rink every day.
That's really exciting. Kind of reflecting back on when you were going through the college commitment process, what about Minnesota State stood out to you, and why did you ultimately commit there?
Mhm. Just the winning culture. I think as soon as I stepped on campus and went on my visit here, and now the it looks a lot different now this year than it did when I was coming in for my visit, in terms of coaching staff and players, and in that aspect. But just, I think it just goes to show that like the culture hasn't changed. Like the expectation of winning and the support from the community and how everyone here in Mankato rallies around the hockey team, like the love for the Minnesota State men's hockey team is like is super noticeable, and it's super attractive. It makes it a place that you want to come and play for these passionate fans, but also for the people inside the building. So as soon as I stepped on campus and just kind of you just felt the energy right away, and I think they were number one in the country at the time when I was coming to make my visit. So that was they were making their run for the in the tournament, and eventually just coming up short in the national championship. But I mean, that alone was a reason to want to come here. Like I want to play in meaningful games and be a part of a team that goes out there with the expectation to win every single time, regardless of what the circumstances are or who the opponent might be. And that was something that really attracted me here to Minnesota State.
Well, besides hockey, I know that this past season you were named CCHA Student Athlete of the Year. What role has your education played in not only maintaining what you need to do on the ice, but also in the classroom?
Mhm. Yeah, it's really important. It's something that I've taken pride in since I was a little kid, and I'm a true believer. Now being more grown up is and something that Coach Strand here at in Mankato like always harps on us is how you do anything is how you're going to do everything. So how can you show up to the rink and you're giving it your all and you're competing, you're putting so much focus into this, but then you go into other aspects of life, whether it's school, relationships, whatever it is, and not give it that same 100%, right? So if you're slacking off in school or slacking off in other areas, like it's typically going to bleed into your hockey, whether it's through slipping up in things in your routine or getting a little complacent, lazy in those areas. So I think that has really helped me, um, you know, build on that foundation of wanting to, take academics like very seriously. And so coming here to Minnesota State, we have so many great resources too. Carrie Kalakian, she's the one behind the scenes who is helping us all out with scheduling and classes, making sure that everything's going good too. So the resources here at Mankato have been unbelievable and have helped me for times when things maybe aren't going the greatest. But yeah, making sure that if I'm going to give my all out on the ice, I got to make sure I'm doing it in the classroom as well, and can't be more thankful for the opportunity that this school has given me.
Yeah, and you're in your junior season. You've progressively played more and more games year after year. What have you seen from your development while being at Minnesota State, specifically on the ice with the Mavericks?
hmm I say the consistency factor, kind of going back to what I learned in when I was in the NAHL in Johnstown, is just making sure like when you get to these levels, starting in juniors with the NAHL and then eventually getting to college, it's you're playing for a job necessarily. Someone's where you're at, someone else also wants to be too. So just understanding like that it's a privilege, and that it's a gift that we're able to do what we're doing, and especially at the level that we're doing it. So making sure that every single game and every single practice that I'm approaching is in a sense, treating it like it could possibly be the last game that I play, because you never know what can happen. And I think throughout the years, I didn't necessarily have that mindset my freshman year here at Minnesota State. Had a good first half, but then I think maybe got a little complacent with some things in my game where I didn't play a single game in the second half, but still the experiences and the lessons I learned from that were very valuable that I was able to take in the next season. And I felt a lot better my sophomore season, but still was kind of lacking that little bit of consistency I was looking for, whereas I'd be able to string a couple good games together and then maybe a blow up one, and then back to kind of that cycle through the rest of that season. And then going into this year, just a focus on, okay, like just focusing on controlling what I can control. I'm going to make sure I'm as prepared as possible. I'm going to go out there and compete as hard as I can, and then the outcome will take care of itself. And if it goes the way that we want to, great. We got to wake up and do it again tomorrow. If it ends up being what we weren't hoping for, yeah, it stinks. We got to wake up and do it again tomorrow. And just knowing the parity in college hockey and how hard it is to win these games, regardless of where someone might be at in the pairwise, is just really really goes to show that every single weekend I have to start approaching the same way and with the same intensity and the same focus. And I think having that mindset starting from this past summer and then leading into this year, and then along with so many other things, like the coaching staff here has been unbelievable, and my teammates this year were incredible. The way that we defended, they really made it easy for me to play to my strengths, where I just had to focus on being in good position, making that first save, and just knowing that my defensemen were going to be there to clear pucks out. And then, on the forward side, pucks are going up to the point, like they're laying out, eating pucks and getting them out, doing whatever it takes. And kind of goes back to that love factor that I was talking to you about, where just showing how much everyone cares for each other and just how much everyone truly wants to win at this level, just makes you want to dig that much deeper to do the same for your teammates. So I think that consistency factor was really the most important part of my game that has helped me throughout my career, but then especially going into this year, we're just making sure that, I know I put the work in. I'm going to make sure that I'm prepared as possible, and then see what happens on the flip side.
Yeah, I think your season has been everything exactly consistent. You lead the nation with your goals against average, you lead with your save percentage, and you never allowed more than 3 goals in one game. With that being said, you experienced a ton of success and you were named for that success with so many different awards. What does it mean to get that type of recognition as a top 10 finalist for the Hobie Baker, a Mike Richter finalist, and naming as the CCHA Goaltender of the Year, Player of the Year? What does it mean to get all those awards and that recognition for your work between the pipes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it means a lot. It's an honor. It was definitely a special season in that regard, and it is cool to get recognition for things that go on behind the scenes, like the work that went into not only just this past year and the season, but everything leading up into it. But I think the most special part was just it was a great way of making connections from where it truly all began, whether it was receiving texts from people in areas like my billets when I was in Johnstown, my billets when I was in Shreveport, or when I was in Sioux City in the USHL, and just being able to deflect that recognition to people who helped me get to this position was the most special part. And it just truly made me take a step back and realize how grateful I am for all the people that have helped me get to this position. And then in terms of the individual reward or awards, I wish I could bring every single one of my teammates up there with me too, because I touched on it, but truly, like, I brought it up a ton, but there was one game that we had specifically this year that really was kind of like my aha moment of like, wow, this team means business. They really care. And it was the Saturday we played North Dakota at home this season. We lost kind of in a heartbreaking fashion on Friday. We come back. I think they were fifth in the nation at the time. So it was a big weekend going into it, and especially with whenever North Dakota comes to town, the community sort of kind of has a little more of a buzz going around it. So we lose that game the way that we do on Friday. We go into Saturday, and I think it was 34 block shots total, like as a team. And just that alone, just seeing that on the stat sheet afterwards, just really made me like, we won 3-0. Yes, I got the shutout, but it was so much more than just me stopping the pucks that I had to. It was like the buy-in from our first line down to our last pairing of defensemen. Everybody was buying in, blocking shots, doing whatever it takes to win that game. And I truly think that was a turning point for us as a group, just showing us how much that we cared and loved for each other. And so to be able to get those recognitions, yes, was cool, but the people that I was able to do it with made it all the more special.
Kind of reflecting on your year, do you ever have, I know you said you've had that one aha moment, but have you had that surreal moment of saying, wow, like I did all of that. I achieved so much this season alongside my teammates?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially towards the end of the season, when it came later than normal, I would say, because so actually go back to the first game of the season. So that was kind of our moment of like, okay, we have something special. We opened the season on the road in Ann Arbor against Michigan, and it was a really cool moment for me, because the first ever college hockey game I went to as a kid was at that stadium. I think when I was 11 years old, my dad, we had a AAA tournament or not even AAA, it was AA tournament in Michigan, and they gave us free tickets for that Sunday. So we stayed in town, watched, I think it was Michigan versus Dartmouth when I was 11 years old. So going there and getting on the ice, like being able to look up and see exactly where me and my dad were sitting was a pretty cool moment. And Michigan, we had a brand new team. It was our second year of our coaching staff now, and going in on the road to play number 7 Michigan, and we go in there and we get a win. I think it was a 5-2 win, I think, against Michigan that first Friday night of the season. And I think that game alone just really showed us. Now we obviously had we were splitting a lot of weekends, I think the first 3 or 4 weekends of the season, but just that win alone I think showed us just how truly special of a group that we have, gave us some belief that it's like, wait, like we were able to go in here and do this. Like maybe we do have something brewing here as a team. So then we go through the whole season, and we got to a point, we hit a lull in January where kind of getting in at large into the tournament was kind of out of the window now, where we knew we had to go in and probably win our conference championship and then our tournament championship. So we really dialed it in there towards February, and then went on a good run in March. And I think that game, after I think it was the conference playoff semifinal against Bemidji, when we won, we got back to the locker room and realized that we got that automatic bid to the tournament. Was that kind of step back moment of like, wait, wow, like thinking back on the preseason polls, like where we were supposed to finish. I think we were ranked to be 4th in our conference alone. And just realizing kind of what we were able to accomplish this year, I think was super cool. But then also it was kind of like a gear in moment where it's like, wait, this isn't our ultimate goal. Like we ultimately we don't want to just get in just because of a technicality, just because St. Thomas isn't eligible to go. We want to go. We want to finish the job, win this conference playoff championship, and then go and try to win a national championship. So to be able to do that in the Mason Cup final, and then go and play the way that we did against the eventual national champ Western Michigan Broncos was pretty special. As heartbreaking of a finish that was, like it was an unbelievable season to look back on, considering where the noise on the outside was placing us to be at the end of this season to where we actually ended up was a really instilled confidence into our group, which was super cool.
I'm going to have you keep looking back, but is there one moment this past season that was the most memorable moment for you, or a moment that made you most proud?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that the story I told you about Michigan, that was definitely very special. So if I were to pick something other than that, I would say, I touched on it a little bit, but that game against North Dakota at home, when we were able to shut them out on Saturday, was one of the coolest feelings, solely because of the crowd that we had. Just it was packed. Like everyone, when North Dakota comes to town, everyone wants to win. Not that we don't want to win any other series, but it means a little more. And especially last year, we went into their building, and I think we lost 6-0 or 6-1, I want to say, on that Friday night. I got pulled, and then the next night we were able to win in a shootout, but college standards, it only went down as a tie. So to be able to do that against, I think they were number 5 at the time, was really cool. Just another one of those, because I think we were 2-3 at the time. We win that game to get to 500, and knowing that all the things surrounding it, of one, being able to beat North Dakota at home, but also just the buy-in that we had from all the block shots and everything like that, really instilled confidence in us going forward. And then really, I think all the way up until that Mason Cup final was that next just like surreal moment. And I know, especially for me, because my freshman year, I mentioned a little earlier, but I didn't see any time from Christmas break until the end. So as cool of an experience and as grateful I was for that year, it did kind of sting a little bit not being able to play in that playoff run, or be a part of it, at least on the ice, when we won against Northern Michigan, and then we went and played against St. Cloud and Fargo in the first round of the tournament in 2022. So that kind of gave me a little motivation and hunger to want to get back there, especially in a starting role, to be able to be a part of it in that way. And so to go through that kind of playoff run that we had, I think was, normally you have those look back moments earlier in the season, but looking back now, where we're at currently today to what we were able to accomplish in that postseason run, I think was um, it's something that I'm going to cherish forever. I know.
Yeah. Talking about your squad, there's 11 other guys on your squad that also played in the North American Hockey League. And I know they played across different divisions, but do you all reminisce about your time of playing in the NA and the different moments that you might or might have not shared?
100%. I think it's very funny. It's almost an unspoken bond right away. Like you almost know when you walk into a locker room or you have that first practice or whatever it may be. You start with your new team, like the guys who played in the NAHL, and whether it's the way that they carry themselves on the ice or even just in the locker room as well. So uh, being able to mix with all those guys in our group and to just share memories from there's stories for days and days from each person individually about their journey in the North American Hockey League, and it's so much fun. It takes up full nights of conversation at times, and it was pretty funny when I was hopping on here for onto this call. Evan Murr, he was kind of lingering around. He's like he wanted to pop in and join and give a little St. Cloud shout out. So it just goes to show like how even when you're not playing on the same team, but when you eventually link up later in life, like just being able to say that both you guys played in the NAHL and had memories from that, like just it's an automatic bond, and I think that's super special, and it's a testament to how great the NAHL is and how special it is to be a part of that league.
Yeah, it is special. And something that I want to talk about with you specifically is your involvement in the community. You are extremely involved across different organizations. Why has that been so important to you?
Mhm. Yeah, it's something it's something I really value, and it's also something that our coach Luke Strand really values as well. So when I played for him in Sioux City, it was no different. We were doing the Miracle League in Sioux City. We were doing any kind of food pantry, like whatever, any type of volunteering opportunity that arose, we were doing it in Sioux City. So as soon as he got the coaching job here in Mankato, I knew it wasn't going to be any different, and we love it. It's a way, and I talked about what kind of made Mankato attractive was just all the support that we get from the community, how much that everyone here truly loves Maverick hockey. So to be able to give back in that way, whether it's through helping out on ice with younger aspiring hockey players or in the community with people who are in need, where like one day we went around it's called rake the town. We went and raked leaves in the fall and just helping people who maybe didn't have the time or the ability to go out in their yards to be able to do that. Just even the tiny, what seems could be tiny like that, just to see the impact and the meaning that it has on the people that we're doing it for makes it worth it 100%. So to be a part of that here, and um, to be able to make an impact in the community on that way and give back in that way is super special, and it's something that I value, and I'm looking forward to carrying into next year as well.
Yes. Well, talking about next year, heading into your senior season, what are you looking forward to most? And what are some of those overarching goals for yourself?
hmm Yeah, I think in terms of goals, this season, just being able the postseason run that we had and getting to the tournament. I mentioned it before that was my first taste of the national tournament. Went there my freshman year, but didn't play, which was a great experience in itself. But being able to play in this year and knowing how close we were, like I think we hit a post with, I think, a minute 19 left. It went to double overtime. Like knowing that we were one shot away from possibly being where in the position that Western Michigan ended up being in just a few days ago, um, has really grown that fire and that passion, not only inside me, but everyone in our locker room, that we have now and going into next season. So that's ultimately our goal, is to win a national championship. But I think getting a little taste of what that means just from this year and playing in that game has us fired up, because if you're going into this season, it's like, okay, yeah, we want to win the McNunn, we want to win the Mason Cup, and then let's maybe try and play a tournament game. I feel like might have been, I don't want to say like outspoken goal, but maybe just from seeing like all the turnover that we had a new team where everyone kind of had us place finishing this year in the summer, it was like, okay, like, let's try and do what we can. And now after having the season, knowing what we're capable of, and that bringing that winning culture kind of back to fruition, I think has us hungry for more. That the focus right away is we want to be playing the last possible day going into the season, and the group that we have coming back leading into the season, like that's what I'm most excited for, is just how we can continue growing and developing together, like in that love for each other, and that the guys that we bring in, whether freshmen or transfer, whoever it is, the group that we end up going to battle with next season, just being able to grow together in that way is what I'm looking forward to the most, and to hopefully put on another run.
Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap this all up, what would your 7, 8-year-old self think, seeing yourself now in the position that you're at?
hmm Yeah, it's that's I mentioned it earlier, but just being able to take a step back and look at the journey and everything that's kind of gone into it, the ups and the downs, the adversity, the times where, maybe, is this it? Am I going to keep playing hockey, or what's going to go on? What's up next? Whether, didn't know if I was going to be playing, if I would have had an opportunity in the NAHL, or if I was going to have an opportunity in the USHL or at the Division I level. Just really makes me grateful for the whole process and everyone that was that a part of it. So if you were to take me back to, 7, 8-year-old self, it would have just been a big surprise, but also a bunch of joy in itself, because ever since I watched that first Blackhawks game on TV, it's like I knew this is what I wanted to do. I was playing baseball at the time. I tried football out a little bit, but I knew right from the get-go that hockey was the sport that I wanted to pursue. So to see that this was kind of the road, it might have been a little bit unattractive in the beginning in terms of some of the ups and downs, but knowing that what it produces would have made it all worth it. So super grateful for my time in the NAHL and everything that went into it, but overall in the entire journey and process as well.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time today, Alex. We will be cheering you on for your senior season, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you so much. You too. Thanks for having me on.